Hello everyone and welcome back to Another Mother. This is a faith and parenting podcast by My Spring Harvest with me, Emma Borquaye. I am a mum of two little ones. I've got Ezra who is 4 and Hallie who is 1. And if this is your first time listening to Another Mother, then welcome. You've got a lot of catching up to do because we've done a whole season already. But if you're just wondering what this is all about, basically I just chat to parents of all different walks of life to hear from them, to learn about their parenting experiences, to share in their wisdom, to be encouraged by them, to be inspired by them. And we share these conversations so that you get to experience that too and maybe feel a little bit less alone on this journey, because it can be lonely and overwhelming at times. And we often feel like we're doing it wrong, but it's good to know that we all do it differently. So today I'm very excited to be joined by Ella Grimwade. She is a homeschooling mum of 7. And not only that, she's also a beauty, fashion, lifestyle content creator, and along with her husband Tim, they've got a YouTube channel called The Grimwade Family, which has now got over 600,000 subscribers, and they're there sharing family life day to day, the ins and outs, the ups and downs. It's really fun to watch. They're just such a vibrant, fun, interesting family. So this is a conversation I've really been looking forward to because I've got 1,000,001 questions for Ella. So let's get into it. Hello, Ella, and welcome to Another Mother.
Thank you so much for having me, Emma. Honestly, I feel so privileged that you've asked me, because obviously we're here on this platform chatting, but obviously we do have a friendship. But I feel like because of motherhood and life, we've never really actually just sat down and had like a chat. So this is it. Hey, and everyone can just listen in.
Yeah, we have to schedule it as work so that people respect the time, and then you can do it without the kids.
Exactly. This is actually true. Maybe we should try and do a coffee date, but via podcast so that we know it will happen.
That's a good idea.
Be the new thing.
Dear. Right. So I would love to try and introduce your whole family, but I'm not going to do a great job. So I am going to let you just introduce everyone.
Okay.
So if you could just go ahead and tell us your whole family, names and ages would be great.
Fine. You'll have to forgive me if I even mix them up, because I just do that on a regular basis. I'll be looking at Hosanna and saying, Houston. And I always do that. I'm like, because all of our kids' names start with H, right? Yeah, exactly. So one of you that begin with H, come here. Anyway, so our eldest child is Hezekiah Daniel, and he is 13. So all their names are double-barreled, right? So next we have Hosanna Rain, and Hosanna is 11 years old. And then we have Hallelujah Rose, but she's better known as Hallie. And Hallie is 9. I just had to think about it there myself. I was like, how old is she? But you know what? What keeps it easy is they all go down in 2 years, basically, depending on what part of the year we're in. Because like Harper, who's actually next, so Harper Ray, she's actually now 9 because she just had her birthday. Not 9. I'm getting it wrong. She's actually now 8 because she just had her birthday in December. So that's the first 4. And then get our brain back in gear. Next, it is Hazariah Rue. Now, everybody will know Hazariah as Rue just because we just call him Rue, because I've always loved the name Rue. For those of you that used to watch Winnie the Pooh, there's a character in it called Rue. And as a child, I was always like, I love that name and I love that character, so I'll have to have a kid and call them Rue. And it worked. And yeah, so we took Azariah from the Bible because we had the H theme. It was like, let's just stick a H on the beginning, make it Hazariah. And then after Houston, it's our baby of the family, Halo Monet. And Halo is currently 1, but she's going to turn 2 in 2 weeks' time. So yes.
Wow. And it is a very perfect kind of spread, like a exact 2 years between each. It feels very intentional. So is this always the plan?
No, it wasn't intentional for it to be 2-year gaps. It's literally how my body just worked. So I remember having Hezi and then sitting at home with him back from the hospital and thinking, oh my gosh, how soon can we get pregnant again? Even though my pregnancies for the first 5 months are horrendous. I've got such terrible morning sickness. It's like I'll be throwing up all day. I just knew that the feeling that I had of having a baby in my arms, and also I love the labor process as well. Maybe I'm crazy, but Labor Day is just like one of the most exciting days in the world, because I'm just like, oh, I'm having a baby, and all this sickness and feeling heavy and all this stuff has just been worth it. Because I don't know about you, Emma, but people obviously, they look at pregnant women and they're like, oh my gosh, you're glowing. You look so beautiful and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, no, I don't feel like I'm glowing. I feel like a house, and I can't move, and my back hurts, and the baby's sticking into my ribs, and it's not a nice process. Well, it wasn't for me anyway. But yeah, I wanted to have kids like just in quick succession, because we always knew we wanted to have a big family. But it just so happened that I just didn't seem to fall pregnant until about a year and 2 months after having, previous child. So it wasn't really intentional, but that's how it's worked out,
Did you always want to have a big family, or did it just kind of happen?
Well, I always knew I wanted to be a mum. Like, that has just been so close to my heart from, I was going to say day one, but as soon as I was, aware of the fact of how a baby came into the world and the process of, like, obviously my mum was pregnant with my two sisters. So, well, they're not twins. It makes it sound like they're twins, but there's only a year between them. So I've got my younger sister, Elizabeth, who is 6 years younger than me. And obviously I saw my mum get pregnant with her. And maybe it was more of an impact because I was in between two of my mum's miscarriages. So there was a miscarriage before me, and then my mum had a miscarriage after me. And I remember seeing how distraught she was going through that process. And, the day that my mum and dad shared it with us, I came downstairs and mum was sat in her dressing gown in the morning. I was like, what? Mum's usually up in the kitchen, breakfast is on the table. She was like beautiful like that. She was so well organised in looking after us children, like really set the bar high. Hence I'm always like, I'm not doing it good enough yet. The table's not set the night before. The clothes aren't laid out. And my mum used to go to the extent of, she would get our toys and like say it was Lego or, those wooden like train tracks. I can't remember what they're called, but you put them together. She would set it all up the night before, so that when we came down in the morning, all the toys were out, like presented nicely. Just, yeah, she was just tops. So anyway, I saw my mum go through that process, and maybe it had a real impact on me, how deep being a mum is. And then obviously when I saw my mum have my sister Elizabeth, and then my sister Eleanor, who's actually got Down syndrome, how it just changes your world, but then how beautiful it is at the same time. And I love my siblings and I love my little sisters. And it was just, I remember once my mum had Eleanor, obviously her having Down syndrome, I think kind of brought my mum to the end of her having children. And I was like, at about 9, I remember saying, oh, Mum, please have another baby. And she's like, oh, it's not that simple, sweetheart, and whatnot. So I just, from then, made my mind up. When I can, have children, when I'm older, when I get married, I'm going to have loads of kids. Unfortunately, I met a man that was crazy enough to go ahead and do that with me, So, yeah. And also, just to add to it, my mum is one of 8. So the way that Tim and I met was because we've just got a crazy amount of cousins. We met through one of my cousins. They were really good friends. And basically we loved the whole family vibe and just, like being together. We'd all meet up like on a Friday, especially at grandma's. And it was just such a lovely time. And when Tim and I started talking, we spoke about family and stuff like that. And we was like, I would love to have a big family, So yeah, and we were like, okay, well, let's start on the journey. Once we got married, it's like, yeah, come on, let's go.
I just love it. I love that it's always been something that's like been on your heart since being a young girl, because I think actually like being a mum is so life transforming and all encompassing. Like it really requires a lot from you that to do what you're doing and have so many children. I think it's just incredible that this feels kind of like a purposeful thing for you, and that you're also living out your dream, which is just beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I was homeschooled, right? So I spent a lot of time around other homeschooled children and families, and a lot of them were big families, and I saw them grow because, our parents knew each other, and I saw one of my parents' friends go from the couple meeting up, they got married, and then eventually they had 7 kids. And I was involved. I used to go and stay at their house and help with the babies and all that sort of stuff. And it was so lovely. And I just loved it. Like everything to do with rearing children. I mean, obviously, as a child, going around someone's house, staying over and helping hold the baby or feed it or whatnot is so different to being a mum yourself. And that word you said is all encompassing. Like it really is. So for someone to dip in and dip out for a couple of days is completely different to being a mum. And I always say to people, being an adult in this whole equation is so different to being the child. As kids, Tim and I were like, oh my gosh, it's so great, all the cousins together, da-da-da. When you're then the adults who have to arrange the meetups, organise who's eating, organise, who can stay up late and who can't because if someone's got something on the next day and is it actually convenient? And then someone's got to tidy up after everybody has come over and all this sort of stuff. It's so completely different. I look at my mum and aunties and grandma, I'm like, rah, they were really chilled out about this whole thing. Because it's crazy. There's so much to do in life.
And I think with you, there is an added layer. Obviously, you've touched on the fact that you were homeschooled, but you actually homeschool your children now, don't you? So where did that kind of come from? Was that because you were homeschooled and you had such a great experience? Or, what was the decision?
Really? So Tim and I'm not going to go into this story right now. Maybe we'll have to visit our YouTube if you want to find out the real story and how Tim and I met. But when we first met,
some teasers.
We were not allowed to be together. And it was about a whole process of about 5 years where we weren't really allowed to be together properly. But we did talk a lot. During this time, we used to text all the time. When you used to have credit on your phone. Oh my gosh. I used to run through credit
feels like a modern day Shakespeare.
People would be like, what on earth is credit? The money to top up on your phone so you can even use it. I used to spend so much money, literally, because we'd be texting all day, every day, just chatting, just getting to know each other. To be honest, we used to talk all the time. And one of the things that we spoke about is, what we thought about family and how we wanted to set up the family in the future. And he knew that I was homeschooled. And he was like, no, forget that whole homeschool thing. I'm not having any weirdo children. My kids are going to be cool and in touch with life. Literally. And I was like, what? What? Am I weird then? He's like, no, you're all right. But yeah, you're different. But yeah, you're okay. But my kids need to be, you know what I mean? So basically we were going to just send our kids to school. But I think on that note, how your children turn out, whether they're homeschooled or not homeschooled, it's, I think, a lot down to how involved you can be with them and how much energy you have really to really kind of plug into your kids' lives and how much of a plan you might have. But anyhow, we actually tried sending Hezzy to school to start off with. So for 8 weeks, we sent him to school. And I just hated it. Literally, I remember the first week of dropping him in. So we used to get up and we'd all take him in together. At the time, it was myself, Tim, Hez, Hosanna and Hallie. And I was literally crying in the mornings when I had to drop him in. And Tim was like, babe, if you're going to cry every single morning he goes in, we just can't do this. I was like, okay, let me pull it together. And then he was coming home with little bits of just phonics and stuff to do. But then also I found that by the time I dropped him off at school, Tim and I had a really good gym routine at the time. So we'd then go to the gym and we literally one would sit in the car outside the gym with the kids whilst one went in and then we'd just swap because that was just the most convenient thing to do at the time. So yeah, we'd do that. And then by the time I got home, made dinner, got the kids ready, tidied up a bit, it was time to go and get them again. And then I found that it kind of ate into the afternoon by the time we got through all the traffic and everything. Then you'd come home, then you'd have to feed everybody. Then you'd still have to do whatever afternoon activity you was doing. And then you'd also still have to fit in doing the homework. And I was like, do you know what? This little bit of homework I'm doing with him in the evenings, which seems to be the major part of his learning, really, because when I'm asking him, what does he do at school? It's like, we had nap time and we played. And I know obviously a 4-year-old probably can't give the greatest account of their day, but we just felt a bit like, we think we can do this ourselves, I think we can do this at home. And the church that we were at the time had a couple of families that were homeschooling as well. And we were like, okay, cool. they look normal. So we can do this as well. And Tim is so cool. He's such a cool guy. You know, I think any children that he had are always going to be in touch with the world, and, you know, just, yeah, it's going to be fine, because we always have lots of conversations with the kids as well, just to make sure that they're not just kind of, you know, their whole life isn't just within our four walls, if you know what I mean. They are aware of what happens in the world. But yeah, so we took him out of school. We had to go through a whole, I'm going to say this wrong, but de-enrollment. That's really not the word. It's really not how you say it. But
I know what you
We
mean.
had to deregister him. That's correct. And that then just was a whole process we had to go through. But it wasn't too dramatic, to be honest. And then I was just so much happier. I think we was all just so much happier just having him at home. And then we just worked out, okay, we've started homeschooling Hares, but the girls are going to get involved even from now, because the stuff is so like simple and basic, you know, that it's not too far for them to kind of try and get involved as well. You know, it gives them something to work towards. So yeah, we had quite a good routine, I would say, especially when it was just the three of them. And then we've just followed suit with the rest. And I think because, you know, the way it's worked out, the way their ages have all worked out, we have gotten to the point where like the older four, I'd say, are at the point where they can read, and obviously, and they can get their books up themselves and start working through whatever it is they're going to be working on that day. And then I can pay more attention to the younger three. But also like nap times and stuff kind of help, because we've always been big on the kids getting the right amount of rest and whatnot throughout the day, especially where they're so active. So that kind of gives you a bit of a kind of peaceful time in a day where you can focus on the kids that need to do more like book work and whatnot. And also, not everything is book work. So that also gives you time to kind of like just live life with them and attack the topics that need to be attacked.
I definitely had an ignorant perspective many years ago on like what homeschooling children would be like. I think there's just some, I don't know where it comes from, because I've actually not really ever met a weird homeschool kid. But in my head, like everybody kind of seems to say that they're just not in touch, or like they wouldn't be good at, I don't know, speaking to people, or they're a bit kind of like shy. But that's so not true.
Well, so it's funny, like two of the questions that we used to get asked, as in myself and my siblings when we were children, people would find out we were homeschooled and they'll go, oh my gosh, have you got any friends? And then there was also like, you know, do you enjoy it? Would you ever want to go to school? We were like, no, you have to get up and go like out to school every single day, and you have to get up at the crack of dawn so you can travel to school. We just have to go downstairs. It's easy. And then secondly, we were like, no, we don't have any friends, because we used to start just thinking, oh gosh, this is just such a silly question, because for us, our experience was that we were involved in a lot of extracurricular activities, so we'd always meet people there. And, you know, that was literally on a daily basis. And my parents were really good with us like that. We weren't literally just at home, just with each other. But I think the whole idea probably comes from people that have maybe just taken their kids out of school because maybe their own experience of school was terrible. And then they're not really focusing on, okay, I'm taking my kids out of school because I want to nurture them and train them to the best of my ability so that they can, you know, start off on a great foot in life and whatnot. And, you know, we have always been so strong on the fact that we wanted to have children so that we could raise them ourselves, so that we had our hands fully in how their characters were going to be shaped and formed and all this sort of stuff. And just because obviously we're a Christian family, we could have all those conversations. And if we was going to attack the topic of sexuality or anything like this, or I don't know, religion or whatever other topics there might be, we could obviously lay things out so they have knowledge about everything, but then at the same time we can teach them what we believe. And I think maybe parents might be discouraged these days from, I don't know, actually teaching your children and actually leading your children and saying, okay, this is right, this isn't right, and whatnot, because I think parents get scared to have their own opinion and say, kids, this is what we believe, you know. I think everybody obviously gets to a point in life where they will have a choice and they will make their own decisions about things. But it's not to say that you shouldn't if you believe something, well, it's within your rights to be able to teach that to your child, and you shouldn't be scared to. Do you know what I mean? I think the government kind of makes you think, oh, that the child isn't yours, and you have to do this and you have to do that. But that's not true. And I definitely didn't go through 5 months of morning sickness for somebody else to raise my child. Thanks.
I love that. Just like drop the mic at the end with that one. Yeah. But no, this is exactly why I wanted to speak to you, because you are just doing things your own way, in a way that you feel convicted to, that you've got peace about. Yes. And I think it's so inspiring. And I guess there are probably going to be people who are listening to you speak now and are maybe thinking for the first time, like, oh, actually, maybe I want to homeschool. And so in terms of like the practicalities of it, number one, do you have to have like a specific schooling area in your house? Like, do you have to set up like a mini school, or is it very casual?
No, it can be very casual. I mean, for us, a table and chairs is always helpful. Like, obviously we do our homeschooling around the dining table. We don't have a specific room that's got, the whiteboard on the wall and all this, but you can if you want to do that and if you've got space to do that. But you just do what works for you and obviously what makes sense. I don't think it's ideal that kids lay on the floor all the time, to do schoolwork. It's probably not great for their posture, and also might not be great for their concentration, kind of trying to teach them a mindset of, you're ready to work. Let's get ourselves ready and in the right position. You can hold your pencil correctly, all this sort of stuff. I think the main thing for me is that you start early. So it's never too soon to start teaching your children. You don't have to wait until they're 4 or till they're reception age or what have you. You start from the get-go. You start teaching them things from when you give birth to them, whether that's respect for you as their parent, whether that's, we're happy, we like to smile as a family. I remember having Hezzy, and I always used to think, oh my gosh, people used to accuse me of being really straight-faced, basically. I'm very serious. And I was like, okay, if I don't want my child to get accused of that, I should always smile at them. I should be very smiley with them, because what they're around is what they're going to soak up. So we were always very aware of, our child's surroundings and how we approached a subject or topic. It was going to affect their thought process and how they would take things on. So we have been very intentional like that. And I say we, because it's definitely not just me. Like, Tim is so, well, you saw when setting up this podcast, he's pays such attention to detail, And I think it's awesome. And it's something that I admired when I first met him, just from the get-go. He had written some poems that I don't think he'd ever shared with anybody, and it was about his adoption, because he's adopted. And I just thought the insight that he showed to his feelings, especially as a man, and his thought process, and I was just like, rah, you've got a great mind. And I saw that, and I've always admired that, and the way that he can see a subject, and whether it's football, whether it's music, whether it's, I don't know, setting up studio equipment, how to make a bench, whatever it might be, he can see something and understand what it's made up of and how to then recreate something and then teach it to somebody else, and I fully admire that. So I think when it's come to raising our children, he's taking the same approach,
Yeah. So do you both do the homeschooling?
Yeah, we do it together. And I would say that Tim's actually the better teacher out of the two of us. I think I, on a practical level, might be like, hey, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, But then with the actual making sure that people are taking it in properly, Tim is so good at that. So yeah, it's definitely a real team effort. And even now, some of the older girls will like sit with some of the younger ones sometimes and actually do like their reading practice and stuff with them. So everything is a team.
Hello, it's me again. I'm just interrupting this episode very quickly to let you know that bookings for Spring Harvest 2025 are opening very soon, and I've got some dates for you. So if you are looking to join us at Spring Harvest at Butlin Skegness, then the dates are 7th to the 11th of April 2025. And if you want to join us at Minehead, then it is the 14th to the 18th of April 2025. Bookings open on the 12th of June, so head over to springharvest.org to find out all the extra information. You can see some accommodation options, and hopefully I will see you in 2025. I think as parents, you really do set the tone for your household. And I think having that healthy relationship and feeling confident within yourself as well really does impact the overall house and the way that your kids feel, and the even the culture that they're raised in. And I would say, like, from even the first time I ever met you and the kids, just being blown away, genuinely blown away by like how much of a strong kind of culture you've set within your family that's so amazing and beautiful. And like the kids are so kind. They're just so kind. They're so lovely. And they're so confident, so polite, so like, and it doesn't feel manufactured, like you've sat down and you've said to them, right, you have to say hello to every person you meet. It just feels like it genuinely flows from them. So how have you kind of gone about setting culture and values for your family?
A lot of it is displayed in, like you said, how we are. I used to not really actually understand and recognize how important my mood was to the home. So if I was in a mood where I felt a bit off on any given day, like it would affect him, it would affect the kids. And I'm there thinking, why are things not just flowing well throughout the day? And Tim was like, it's because you've woken up like just in an off mood. I'm like, no, I'm not, I'm fine. Or I'd be like, I'm tired, I'm just tired. Like, there's not a problem if I'm tired. Like, you guys just get on with your day the way you need to get on with it. Like, and like Tim used to have to speak with me, and we'd have, again, discussions and really explain, look, darling, you are the mother, like, of our home. Like, that is such an important role, and how you are being affects all of us. So if you wake up and you're on top of the world and you're smiling and you're hugging everyone and greeting, like, it will affect how we feel. And you know, I had to just really, one, put it into action so I could see that it was actually proven and it actually was true. I was like, I'm not sure, let me try it and see.
I'm gonna test this theory.
And then surprisingly, when it actually worked, I was like, okay. And of course, I don't get it perfect all the time. I'm still a hormonal woman who has days where she's just like, yeah, me and the world aren't getting on today. But you know, I think we're open about that, and also we have conversations with the children. So we would have the conversation about, how do you feel when mum wakes up in the morning and she just seems like a grump? And the kid's like, well, we do kind of feel like, oh, something's off with mum, what's happened? And it kind of makes us feel like maybe we shouldn't ask for too much, or what have you. So it will affect people. I was like, okay, cool. And, you know, having those conversations with your children, it's going to make you feel stuff, you know, because you're a mother, you want them to be happy. You want them to feel like they can approach you for anything and all that sort of stuff, you know. So I think that has been important. And then that has then filtered on to how they look at themselves, how they want to portray themselves to others, to people when they meet them, how they recognize, okay, if I want to be, you know, greeted in a certain way, I should greet other people and treat them a certain way, you know. So I don't think any of my kids would ever dream of meeting someone and just kind of not saying anything, because for them that wouldn't be normal, you know. If I walk through the door, like, well, sorry, actually, no, Tim's actually got a big thing of, if he's going to go out, he'll come round and say goodbye to everyone. I'm still learning with that. I'm very much, I'm in a rush, see you later, everyone. But Tim will
just
like
wave like, bye everyone.
I haven't got time to kiss 8 people right now, I've got to go. But Tim is very like, oh no, he'll come down and he'll, I say come down because our main part of our house is downstairs. So he'll come and just give everybody a kiss goodbye, tell everybody he loves loves them all before he leaves the house, which is such a beautiful, what's the word? Word's gone straight from my head. But, you know, routine to have. And you know, I think that then filters down to the way the children are, the way they are with each other. They practice what they see, you know. They are each other's best friends as well. And I think because we live in a world where you realise that at the end of the day, your home is like your strongest support, you know. And if you're blessed to come from a home where you've got mum and dad, and you know, these guys, there's so many of them, it's so fun, and they've all got different personalities. But then also, you know, I don't think we can take all the credit as parents. Like, our children have each of their own personalities as well. They all have something different to add. So like, if we go into a group setting, Hallie's always very, very bubbly and very, very forward. Hosanna might be someone that is able to say, okay, well, the way that person was this, and da-da-da, like, she really will read the room. Rue is just like the front man, just like everyone's like, oh my gosh, that little blonde one, oh, he's just amazing. But he's just been like that. Harper, she will defend any one of her siblings. She's like our little lion, I tell you. Like, she's just, don't put a foot wrong. Do not cross Harper because it might not be a nice experience.
So cute.
But like literally, they've all got their own personalities, and the way they work together is so beautiful, and the way they complement each other as well. So, and we'll have discussions like if we've gotten somewhere and someone's felt away, or for, you know, we're best friends, but when we went somewhere, you seem to be whatever the issue was. If someone's felt left out or whatnot, we'll talk about that, and we will as a family do what we can to make sure we deal with that, so no one is left feeling any kind of way that they don't know how to deal with themselves, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you about that, like in terms of just general sibling disagreements, sibling rivalry. It is so normal. And whether you're one of 2 siblings or you're one of 7, one of 8, one of 10, there's always bound to be kind of just, you're a kid, you're navigating life, and you have disagreements with everyone because you're navigating the world. But yeah, would you say for you guys, the way that you deal with it is kind of like nip it in the bud, have an open conversation?
Yeah, but sibling rivalry and fights and stuff like that, we don't really stand for it. So if there is, surprise, if there's like a disagreement, we're like, well, we need to work it out because this isn't going to go much further than, you know, here and now. And we'll sit down and we'll talk. If it's something that we feel like the little ones don't need to sit and be involved in, then they won't be. But yeah, we'll literally, everyone has to be honest, and Tim and I will give our knowledge from experience of life, and we'll discuss it and just have a very, very rounded, probably very long conversation about whatever the issue is. And then usually by the end of it, I do have to applaud Hosanna and Hallie, because if they have, like, they hardly ever disagree on anything, but if they have any sort of disagreement, like, they always hug at the end, like, genuinely. And you know, you can feel in the air if there's an issue, that there's just never anything. Like, they're like, look, that's my best friend. Like, I don't want there to be a problem ever. Like, we love each other so much, but we just have to get through this, that, or what have you. And, you know, again, they read each other very well. So they kind of know how each other will react to things. But yeah, like, the main thing is in our home, communication is so high on the agenda, just so that we don't have things kind of going missing, you know?
It brings me to talk a bit about social media, because I think this is like such a topic for parents, and it's something that's kind of on everyone's mind all the time these days, which is like one of the big fears for raising children in this generation is the impact of social media and what that might have on them. And I guess parents deciding whether to show their children online or to not, and knowing how to help your children navigate that online space. So I just wonder, obviously I know you've probably got quite a positive view of it because of what you and your family do, but I would love to hear from your perspective how you see social media and what it was that made you comfortable with being able to share your family's life online in such a public way.
Yeah, so I think obviously you have to be aware that, you know, as soon as you have internet in your house, if your child has access to the internet, it's literally an open door straight to your child from the world. Do you know what I mean? So you have to be aware of that, and you have to have a level of trust with your children, but then also as the adult, know that you are checking things, and that also you're making sure they don't have access to certain things. And obviously these days there's so many like safety precautions you can put in place that your kids don't have access to what they shouldn't have access to. I think when it comes to social media, and in terms of like your Instagrams, your TikToks, blah, blah, it's all can be used either in a positive way or a negative way. And we've always obviously used it as a positive way of looking at family and putting family on a stage for the world to see in a good light. Because for us, we believe that family is the core of society. And if you can get that right and create good family foundations, then we are helping the world, you know, kind of progress in a positive way. But obviously, I guess the fear is more from the outside influences. People maybe bullying your kids or saying nasty things or whatnot. I think you have to recognize a couple of things at the end of the day. Firstly, you have people that are like keyboard warriors, they'll say anything online. But if you ever meet that person in real life, they're not going to say half this stuff to your face. And that says a lot about them as a person. You're like, okay, so you're brave enough to say all this when you can't see me, but you are not going to say this face to face. Okay. And then also, how much does everybody else's opinion really count? Because it's great if people want to pick you up and give you encouragement and tell you you're amazing. But with social media, things can always be put in a light that is not necessarily true either. So, for example, someone could say, oh my gosh, you're this, you're that, da-di-da, but they don't know the full story. They don't know that when you came on camera and you was being very, very open about a situation you'd gone through, they don't know maybe the battle that you had to actually go through and overcome before you even shared that story. And that whole process that you've gone through has helped make you strong enough to be able to share it, and therefore anything that comes back you're able to deal with. So for myself, we sometimes had negative comments. Oh my gosh, you're this, you're that, what, some really horrible things sometimes as well. But for us, we have trust in a good God, and we believe that he protects us, he protects our children, and he keeps us safe. And also, that we make sure we are putting out things that we know are true, also so that therefore if someone questions it, you're not there like second guessing and having to be like, oh actually I've got to put this out, because it's, if the facts, the truth is the truth, then you haven't got anything to worry about. Don't be putting out claims that aren't real, because then in real life it's going to have an effect. And also even things about your kids, you don't want to paint your children in a certain light that it heaps pressure on them either, because that's another thing that I think people can be concerned with. And then also recognizing that our lives that we put online are a story of our life. And for example, we could be like, oh yeah, today we're doing this, and then something happens and it completely changes the plan, and we'll be open with that and say, actually guys, such and such happened and it didn't work out that way. So as you have to do in life sometimes, we've changed the course of the plan, and we're going to go in this direction or whatever, and not feeling a way about that. I think you have to have a thick skin and recognize, okay, having self-confidence and belief in yourself, and also really trusting that whatever it is you're putting out, you believe in, so that then when questions come back or negative comments or whatnot, you're not shaken, because it's your truth. Do you know what I mean? And it's not necessarily going to be what everybody agrees with, And I'm terrible at saying, so I wish Tim was in the room right now, but I think it's like you can please some of the people some of the time, but not all the people all the time. Something like that. I've probably completely botched that. But
yeah, I get you.
But yeah, and also you're not trying to please people. We serve a great God who has brought Tim and I together at a particular time in our lives, given us the children that he's blessed us with, and we believe that he has a purpose for our lives. So that's what we're focused on. Our goal is to live our lives to his glory and to the best of our ability to please him. And it doesn't mean we're going to be perfect. It doesn't mean that people are always going to understand us. It doesn't mean that everything that we do is going to be great. We're going to have ups and downs and rounds, but it's all part of his greater plan for our lives. So there shouldn't be any fear in that. If we have complete trust in the Lord, we know that he is directing us, and he is ordering our steps, and he will give us the wisdom to know what we should and shouldn't put out, and what is the right thing to say, or when we should talk and when we shouldn't talk. And then in terms of protecting the children, we always make sure that, for example, if there's something that's happening, are they happy with us sharing said thing? And if not, then we won't share it. We're never going to be like, oh, you have to film today. Do you know what I mean? It's just never going to be that. We want them to do things because they want to do it, not because we're telling them to do it. But, we also we'll say, guys, you have such a fun life. You've got so many blessings, and it's great for others to be able to share in that. And people seem to take so much joy from watching our family. We love our family. We enjoy being in it. So we are happy to share that with others. But at the same time, if there was ever a turning time and people disliked us, well, we still love who God has made us to be. And you have to walk in the strength and the knowledge of knowing that.
My final question for you, because I think it would be fun to end on a high note. Not that it's not all being high, it's all actually been very high and positive. But obviously social media and your YouTube channel as well is all so much fun. Like you said, people get so much joy from sharing in your family and seeing what you get up to, and just, it's so much fun. But obviously, as a family, you probably want to have fun off camera as well. Like, you don't want to feel like every fun thing has to be filmed. Maybe you want to have some stuff for yourselves as well. So what do you as a family like to do for fun that maybe we wouldn't see on a video?
Okay, we love to play games. So like, especially over Christmas when we was kind of off schedule a bit, we had a great time playing Monopoly, and which I didn't win at any of the times. I think Hallie won both times, but she doesn't let us forget.
That's the problem raising competitive children.
I know, literally, like someone's always gonna not be happy, but I can only have one winner. But so we love playing board games. We love playing like just games like charades and stuff like that. We do love to watch films, but usually like documentaries, or like we've recently watched King Richard, and like it's one of them ones where it was a proper dad moment for Tim. Was watching it and he was pausing it, discussing, and then playing, and then pausing and discussing. I loved it. It was making me laugh. But we had previously all watched it as a family at the cinema, so it was fine. They got the whole flow. But yeah, we love entertainment. We love music, and obviously on our YouTube channel, it's a bit harder to kind of share music if you're like monetizing stuff. But obviously on Instagram, you get to see that side of us, and on TikTok, which is really cool because I feel like for a long time we've not been able to share that. So we'll have dance offs all the time. And yeah, like we love to spend time with family and friends, and although we don't really get much time to do that these days just because our schedule is so crazy. We do miss a lot of family events that we'd love to be at just because we literally can't make it there. But yeah, like literally, I think it's quite normal things really that we enjoy. Like for me, like growing up, music was always on in our house. Tim's always loved music. Like we'll have like little rap offs, you know, to someone's trying to do a little rap and someone will make something up, and obviously I'm the best. And no. But yeah, no, it's just good fun family time. Shopping, we love to go out for meals. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ella. We're so grateful for just all of your wisdom. You're the OG mum. You've got years of wisdom and a lot of experience. You've done your 10,000 hours. You are an expert.
That made me laugh. 10,000 hours, you're an expert. I was like, oh yeah, yes. For real.
You are. You really are.
Still learning and still tired. I wish when I find the cure for the tiredness of a mum, I think I'll have to bottle it up and sell it. Like that would be amazing.
You will be a billionaire. You will be a billionaire because we all need it.
Trust me, yeah, we do. No.
Thank you so much, Ella. And I'm sure, everybody will want to see lots more from you and your wonderful family.
Bless you. Thank you so much, Emma.
Thank you so much for listening to Another Mother. Don't forget to subscribe for future episodes, and please do help us spread the word about this podcast. You can share it with your friends, with other parents that you know, other mums, grandparents, or just anyone that you think might enjoy these episodes.